bisa nihil ragu, biarlah merayu di ruang biru. Bias kita jadi taksu, gairah kamu mendayu, sabda diramu. Jadikan hanya aku satu-satunya sanggara pembagai sang pelipur lara. Nyanyikan ku kidung setia. Jadikan hanya aku satu-satunya sanggara pembagai sang pelipur lara. Nyanyikan ku kidung setia.
Tes. Ladies and gentlemen, you may take your seats as we will be starting shortly. The Honorable Vice Rector for Academic and Student Affairs of Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Faisal S.A. MSc PhD, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, represented by Special Advisor to Minister of Finance for Regional Fiscal Policy Formulation Affairs, Ibu Dr. Titi Anas. We would also like to recognize and welcome the keynote speakers joining us today, Member of Commission 7 of the Indonesian House of Representatives, Ibu Diah Roro Esti Widya Putri, Vice Rector for Research, Innovation and Collaboration of Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Dr. Insinyur Ambarianto, Regional Focal Point Asia Pacific of Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth, Ms. Sitara Kumbale, Head of Ecoenzyme Team of UI Green Metric World University Rankings Network, Dr. Insinyur Nurzaina Ginting, who will join us as a speaker during the Ecoenzyme workshop this afternoon. Distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, may peace be with. Good morning and welcome to the day 2 of the first International Student Leader Meeting 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, to commence today's event, we kindly invite Vice Rector for Academic and Student Affairs of Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Faisal SMSE PhD, to deliver the opening speech.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. Excellencies, Rector Universitas Diponegoro, the keynote speakers, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, or representing, Ibu Diah Roro Esti Widya Putri, Member of the Commission 7 of the Indonesian House Representatives, Professor Ambarianto, Vice Rector for Research, Innovation and Collaboration, Universitas Diponegoro, Ms. Sitara Kumbali, the Regional Focal Point Asia Pacific of the Sustainable Development Solution Network Youth, Vice Rectors, Dean, faculty members, students, and all the participants of the first International Student Leader Meeting 2022. Alhamdulillah, thank Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Almighty God, for all His mercy and love, so we can come together for this meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to say congratulations to the SDG Center of Universitas Diponegoro for successfully initiating and organizing the meeting. This year, the theme of the first International Student Leader Meeting 2022 is Collective Action for Transforming Sustainable University in the Post-Pandemic. Of course, the theme is highly relevant to the current issues. Global crisis, caused by the pandemic of COVID-19 since early 2020 can conciliation the word commitment to the 2030 agenda for sustainability development. How the new condition created by the pandemic have affected the interdependencies between SDGs. For example, how the effects relate to health and well-being, quality education, decent work, and economic growth, consumption and production, and also the climate action. Universitas Diponegoro is committed to continuously promote sustainability, leadership, inclusiveness, and innovation are main pillars to ensure Universitas Diponegoro as the leading green campus nationally and globally. The SDG Center, Universitas Diponegoro, as the Study Center for Sustainability Development Goals, can carry out its strategic role as an educational and knowledge institution that can organize scientific study activities in the field of sustainability development goals. Some substantive action that UNDIP has carried out in supporting the implementation of SDGs in the university sector, such as UNDIP has implemented and adopted a security system according to standards that are available in all buildings to ensure the safety and security throughout the campus. UNDIP also provides health facilities for students, academic and administrative staff according to the standards. The existence of basic health facilities is almost available in all buildings, while the hospital is on the main campus that can be accessed for students and staff, also for public and community surrounding. UNDIP committed to conduct and fully implement continuous conservation of plant, animal, wildlife, genetic resources, and food, also agriculture, in the form of several conservation campus programs, as well as building medium and long-term conservation facilities. UNDIP also committed to reduce the amount of energy required as a solution to the problem of minimizing greenhouse gas emission by implementing the energy efficient appliances such as smart building, solar panel, and hydropower. UNDIP is committed to develop and apply sustainable waste management practices and the principle of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Some of the programs such as recycling program, reduce paper and plastic. Universitas Diponegoro also committed to continuously support the achievement of SDG 6 related to the clean water and sanitation by carrying out various programs and implementation such as water conservation and water recycling programs. Also, as we see today that SDGs Universitas Diponegoro provided and offers sustainability subject, courses, cultural events, research funds, and student organizations such as the first international student leader meeting today. Therefore, this event is highly relevant for raising awareness of the importance of sustainability and human resources required for its realization and maintenance and in communities and universities. The second, this event relevant for providing the exchange of sustainability related experiences among students' organizations of various global universities, and also fostering the development of sustainable leaders. I trust the student leader meeting will be energized by your voices and perspectives, and of course, the students' contribution to the learning environment in the context SDGs remains essential and leave an imprint. Expose your views, let your leadership is being heard. To all parties who participated and contributed, I would like to thank very much. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Kindly invited Vice Rector for the Academic and Student Affairs to stay in front for a photo session. Prof. Faisal berkenan untuk foto bersama. And also we would like to invite all delegates, ladies and gentlemen, to please kindly come forward for a photo session, for another photo session. Untuk teman-teman humas, mohon bantuannya untuk dapat mengatur foto bersama dan juga mengambil gambar dari seluruh peserta pada pagi hari ini. Please to Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's okay, please feel free to pose as you like. Two thumbs or one thumb? One thumb. That will be difficult. Okay, one more picture or two more pictures? One more picture? Okay, okay, thank you very much. Ini HP
Kurang bagus.
Prof. Faisal, HP-nya nanti ke bawah saya.
Potong gaji.
Oh, potong. Very well, thank you very much for the photo session. And distinguished guests, delegates and ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the first plenary session, followed by discussion. And it is an honor for me to introduce our keynote speaker for this morning. Joining us now online will speak about facing a global economic recession in 2023, what young generation can do. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Special Advisor to Minister of Finance for Regional Fiscal Policy Formulation Affairs, Staf Khusus Menteri Keuangan Bidang Perumusan Kebijakan Fiskal Regional Kementerian Keuangan, Ibu Titi Anas. Selamat pagi, Ibu Titi Anas.
Selamat pagi.
Good morning. Selamat pagi.
Sorry,
Ibu.
sorry. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear your voice, Ibu Titi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And to guide the delivery of the keynote speech, kindly being invited to the front as the moderator, Ibu Bulan Prabowani, SOS MM, PhD. For the moderator, you may start the session.
The Honorable Vice Rector for Academic and Student Affairs of Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Faisa, the Honorable Ibu Dr. Titi Anas for the keynote speaker for this session, and distinguished guests. Please welcome to the second day of the International Student Leader Meetings 2022 in Semarang. It is such an honor for me to be the moderator for this session. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, global society now is in a challenge to coping with economic recession 2023. And the recession due to the food and energy crisis, as the impact of Ukraine war, as well as that the business still unable to perform in a good shape after the pandemic COVID-19. And also, nowadays, we have the rise of interest rate. But ladies and gentlemen, now Indonesia, India, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam is assumed to be able to resist towards the recession. And for the probability for Indonesia for the recession is only 3%. So here we have Dr. Titi Anas to discuss, to ensure that we able to follow the scenario of Indonesian government to cope with the crisis, so we able to resist with the recession. We should have here Ibu Ministry of Finance, Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, PhD. However, she unable to join us here, but don't worry, we have Ibu Titi Anas, Ibu Dr. Titi Anas. Thank you very much, Ibu. I would like to read a brief curriculum vitae of Ibu Titi Anas. She graduated from Universitas Indonesia for the bachelor degree, and she graduated also from Australian National University for both the master and doctoral degree. And Ibu Titi already write a book entitled with Keeping Indonesia Safe for the COVID-19 pandemic. And Ibu Titi now is the Special Advisory for Indonesian Ministry of Finance. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the meeting, I'd like to read a pantun. Yeah, so pantun is a traditional oral poetic form to express ideas or emotion. Wait a second. Please say cakep ya. Mentari terbit belumlah tinggi. Jalan sendiri menunggu fajar. Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi. Semoga acara ini berjalan lancar. But don't worry, for those who speak in English, I have an English version. The color of this screen is blue. Such a good day to meet you. My heart is flowering. Please enjoy the meeting. Yeah, Bapak Ibu and ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Ibu Titi Anas here. Bu Titi Anas, you have 30 minutes to present. Please, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu Bulan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say warm greetings to Professor Faisal, the Vice Rector, who already opened today's session by outlining excellent progress of University of Diponegoro University on SDG. The other university should follow the steps that Universitas Diponegoro already did. I would like also to greet the Honorable Mrs. Diah Roro Esti Widya Putri, the member of Commission 7 of the Indonesian House of Representatives, the Honorable Mrs. Sitara Kumbala, Regional Focal Point of SDG Solution Network for Youth, and honorable speakers who attend today's meeting. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to send the apology from our minister who cannot attend or present to you the keynote speech due to another commitment that she cannot avoid. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Ibu Bulan already presented to you, the challenge that we are facing, it's not an easy one. It's increased over time due to pandemic and the war in Ukraine. And this, of course, provide a challenge to everyone, not only those in the government, but also public in general, including the youth. So it is very timely that the youth gathered here in Semarang to discuss the SDG, because SDG is going to be affected significantly by the downturn of the economy. So I would like to express my sincere high appreciation to students and the university who arranged this event. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic may alter the course of policy throughout the world. Yet, as if it's not enough, another disaster that already mentioned earlier, the war, also erupted. And this not only affecting the economies that is in conflict, but also the rest of the world. We have the supply chain disrupted, the energy price increased substantially, and the food price also increased substantially, not only in Ukraine, but all over the world. The pandemic and the war are a lethal combination. All activities, export, import, and other economy activities put on a hold, causing the rest of the world to face an economic slowdown. The economic slowdown and recession in some countries leads to increased unemployment due to many companies decrease their budget and resulted in termination of their employee. We heard that around the world, so many layoffs, so many unemployed workers as an implication of the pandemic and the consequences of the war. Even before the pandemic and the war, some emerging countries were facing problems with poverty and social problems. That's why the SDG come very, very important. The pandemic and war have made the existing problem harder to handle. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia is part of G20 and ASEAN. Among the G20 and ASEAN countries, Indonesia is one of the countries that has been able to recover relatively quickly from the pandemic. As I put in the chat box, we have already documented what we have been doing with the pandemic handling, so that it can be a lesson learned for all countries. The book is free for download from our website, but it's also available through ISIS Publishing Company in Singapore for download as well. Indonesia's economic fundamental has remained solid and robust, providing it with a strong foundation for facing the global headwind. Our GDP growth, as you may know, had continued to thrive this year, growing at 5% in quarter one, 5.4% in quarter two, and 5.7% consecutively in quarter three. So we have a very solid foundation. The stronger economic recovery has been supported primarily by buoyant domestic demand and solid export growth. Effective pandemic handling and various policy support, both on the demand to support the purchasing power of our people through social assistance and subsidies, and supply side support, such as tax relief for companies, some subsidies and financing support, have also been instrumental in cushioning the impact, as well as to re-jumpstart our economic activity post-pandemic. Stronger economic activities have sustained the improvement in the labor market. We witnessed that the unemployment rate declined from 6.49% in August 2021 to 5.86% in October 2022. So we have made progress, although the progress still need to be accelerated if we want to achieve the high income countries in 100 years of Indonesian anniversary, which is 2045. Indonesia's international trade has continued to strengthen. In October 2022, the trade balance recorded a surplus of $5.67 billion. It is 30 months straight of surplus. In the past, before the pandemic, we often have our trade balance in deficit. What does it mean? It means that we import more than what we can export. In October 2022, however, our export grew by 12.3%. It is a very high growth, while import also increased by 17%. Import is not bad. Export is not also bad because of the need of goods and services in every country, and that country have limited resources. So it is based on trade theory that countries should embark on international trade, so they can specialize in the things that they can do best and import the things that they cannot do efficiently. So our export grew and our import also grew, leaving the country with a surplus of trade balance. The increase in Indonesia export was driven by non-oil and gas export, which is grew by 11.45%, mainly coming from animal and vegetable fats and oil, which is CPO that we know, crude palm oil, as well as mineral fuel, iron and steel. Meanwhile, oil and gas export increased by 29.2%. However, our non-oil gas export are the predominant of our export. So the largest share of our export are the non-oil. So it's worth noting here that they remain strong. Indonesia export performance amid the global slowdown is partly due to a market shift as export to relatively strong performing countries such as India, which is jumped very significantly our export there by 84% in October 2022. And we also witness our export to our traditional market, means that our regular export destination also going strong. In regard to investment, our Indonesia is remain attractive to investors. We witness that direct investment is strengthened. The total direct investment in Indonesia in Q3 2022 was recorded at 307 trillion rupiah, 42% higher than the same period last year. Foreign direct investment increased by 63.6%. So it's not only from domestic investors that we receive investment, but also from other countries. The direct investment performance revealed that the Indonesian market is still appealing amid global risks. So we are among the, what we call it as the light, the shining light around the world from the emerging country. The investment has created job opportunities for new job seekers, absorbing around 307,000 workers. The 2022 economic growth outlook will remain strong. We still have another quarter to finish this year. We are currently in Q4 2022. The projection is mainly based on the fact that the household consumption remain relatively strong, supported by ample liquidity, robust export, and accelerated infrastructure project execution. Indonesia is prominent for its infrastructure development in the past few years. We have spent more than 700 trillion to build infrastructure throughout the country. You see new airports, new seaports, new roads and bridges built around across the country. Learning from the experience of the 2011-2012 commodity boom, the economic trajectory will capitalize on the commodity super cycle, we call it, the high price commodity. The ongoing reform agenda that the government is undertaking so that we can lead the country into the prosperous 2045 aspiration. We are quite optimistic that this year's growth rate could be in the range of 5 to 5.3%. So it's quite high compared to other countries. Ladies and gentlemen, not only Indonesia projected high growth for its economy, but also the World Bank and the IMF respectively. The government budget, if we talk about what the government is doing, the government budget, which is the money comes from its people who pay taxes, is instrumental in ushering the economy into this current juncture. The government budget has provided a cushion to prevent a deeper contraction and minimize the scarring effect of the pandemic. Amid the current persistent global inflationary pressure, the government budget has played a critical role in maintaining the purchasing power of the people through energy subsidies so that the stronger economic recovery can be sustained. Our 40% bottom household received additional top-up during the price increase, the fuel price increase. Nonetheless, the government continued to seek the right balance between boosting economic recovery and safeguarding the medium to long-term fiscal sustainability. Not only we live today, but also we live for many years to come, especially the budget support has to support its people, the Indonesian people, not only this year, but also for the future. Thus, Indonesia has adopted a flexible but prudent approach to fiscal policy management under the current circumstances. The strong 2022 budget performance continued. Up to the first 9 months of 2022, the government budget continued to record a surplus amounting 60.9 trillion or 0.33% of our GDP. The total government revenue collected went up significantly by 45.7%. So in contrast to other countries facing a slowing down in their revenue, we are collecting more basically. So this significantly increase make the revenue collection of almost 2,000 trillion. Tax collection is even more astounding, growing at 49.3% and worth 1,500 trillion in total. So for the government of Indonesia, apart from tax collection, we also have revenue from the profit of our SOEs and other collection. But in terms of taxes, who contribute most? The mining, the trade sector, and the manufacturing contribute the majority of our tax revenue. Nonetheless, tax revenue from all sectors recorded significant growth, reflecting a broad-based economic recovery. We should be thankful of this broad-based economic recovery. Non-tax revenue increased strongly, also supported by the increase in almost all components of the back of higher commodity prices, better performance of our SOEs, and an improvement in public service. Non-tax revenue up to September 2022 increased by 34.4% compared to the previous year of 431 trillion. So in terms of revenue, we are very well in this year to face the challenge that the global economy posed to us. And how about the spending? The tax and all the revenue collected by the government are used for public purpose. And we see this year as well as the Minister of Finance always presented to public monthly on the progress of our revenue collection and the budget disbursement. And as a way of a background, in our 2022 budget document, the government expenditure is focusing on supporting the economic recovery program, national strategic project, and social assistance. As September 2022, the government has disbursed 1,900 trillion of spending, or about 61.6% of our total budget. Out of this amount, 686 trillion is disbursed for non-line ministry spending, including subsidies and compensation for fuel and electricity, which is increased in the past few months due to the war in Ukraine, of course, that make many countries' life miserable. Excuse me. Apologize for that. Financing has been maintained considerably. You know, if a country have a revenue short than its spending, there should be a financing for the deficit. Let me turn off my handphone first, so it's not disturbing. Okay, apologize for that. So when countries revenue collection less than the spending, there is a need for financing. And for Indonesia, financing of the deficit of the budget has been maintained considerably well. with the net debt deficit or financing until the end of September 2022 reached 478 trillion, a decrease of 26% compared to last year. And this is good because initially we planned a higher budget deficit, but we are looking for a less budget deficit this year because of the well-managed the revenue, which is increased significantly, and the budget well-managed within the plan. For Indonesia, the year 2022 is critical milestone on our fiscal consolidation plan, where we'll go back on implementing our budget discipline of a maximum deficit of 3% of the GDP by next year, as mandated by the emergency law. In handling the pandemic, the government introduced an emergency regulation that later enacted by the parliament as emergency law. We call it Undang-Undang 2 Tahun 2020. As you all know, so far the 2022 government budget performance looks impressive, with remarkable revenue collection as the key factor. Therefore, the budget deficit is expected to be lower, as I mentioned earlier, than the initial target. And so is the financing needs, as well as a bond issuance target is lower. At the end of semester 1, we stated to the parliament that the budget deficit outlook could be lowered to 3.9% of the GDP, much lower than the initial budget deficit plan of 4.85% of GDP. The number continues to improve, and we're now anticipating at even lower budget deficit. This is very in line with our commitment to bring down the state budget deficit to normal level from 6.14% in 2020 to 2.84% in 2023. So we experienced huge budget deficit when handling the COVID in 2020, but with discipline, we are going to bring it down into 2023 to below 3% as mandated by our law. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about our fiscal measure. Of the Ring says winter is coming. It was coming during the 2020 and 2021. For some country, it is still winter these days, and that and the hardship we managed to survive in 2020 and 2021. But many countries still experience the difficult situation. So we have to contribute to the world. And Indonesia has contributed to the world through G20 in handling how the global economy should respond to the challenges. And as we enter the year 2023, we can clearly see that many big companies have started to lay off their employees. So this is still, the winter is still experienced in many countries, but less so in Indonesia. As we enter the year 2023, we can clearly see that many big companies started to lay off their employees, as small companies have stopped their operation and so on. We see from the big tech company do this, and some startup also experience this. The recession can have some snowball effect on attaining the world SDG due to the downturn of the economy, as I mentioned earlier. So SDG is among others that are going to be affected by COVID-19 and the war. As a young person, you, the audience, the leaders in this room, have the opportunity to help the world achieve the SDG on track, and so that we can achieve the SDG as we plan. There are numbers of actions you can take to assist the government in meeting the SDG, the goals, amid the recession. Here, the leaders in this room, you can start by taking a small step. Remember what Edwin Aldrin said when he landed on the moon for the first time? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That's what you are going to do by attending this event. You can start by organizing your trash. That's a very small step. Ensuring efficient use of electricity. That's another small step. Proposing some implementable policy for your government. That's a big step that you can do as well. Or even creating job opportunity for others through any endeavor, any starting entrepreneurial activities with your friends on campus and so on. As future leaders, you have all the time in the world to plan your action and turn it into something big. Everything starts small and it can become big, like what we have with Gojek and so on. It's all start small. Cooperation is the key to reaching the goal, whether it is the cooperation between you and the government or the cooperation between you and your friend around the world. You are lucky to be in this room, that you have friends from other countries. Be patient and creative in implementing the plan. And lastly, be confident that you can pass this challenge episode. The world is not in its normal way of doing business. Some countries experience high inflation, low growth, but we can pass this as well. Towards Indonesia's dream of becoming the golden generation of 2045, that's our 100 independence aspiration, the young Indonesians should have a comprehensive intelligence, namely productive and innovative, peaceful in social integration, and have Indonesian strong character and superior civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, and the youth leader that I admire, have a fruitful meeting and have the best time in Semarang. Just remember that history repeats itself. The predicted recession in 2023 is not unprecedented. We experience, although not our generation, but the past generation also experienced some kind of recession in the past. It had happened a few times in this century as well. You can study what policy that has been implemented to overcome the incident during the century. And you can also, from the book that we just published, how can a country recover from the pandemic, from Indonesia's experience. The important thing is that we do not panic and be always creative. And God helps us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Titi Anas, for the valuable insight. While we also coping with many hoax information there, here we're able to hear directly from the Ministry of Finance, the representative of Ministry of Finance about the valid data and how our economics. I have made several notes here. The first is that we are now confident, especially for Indonesian, that our economics is in a very good shape. For example, we able to recover from the pandemic very soon, and then the unemployment rate decreased significantly. The third one, also the performance of trade in Indonesia is surplus of trade of balance, and then as well as the export performance, and then the investment rate both for foreign and domestic investment rate in Indonesia is increased 40% compared to the last year performance. And then we able to enjoy the infrastructure development. Now we have 5.5% of economic growth rate, and then we have prudent fiscal policy, and yeah, in which 45% of government revenue is increasing. Yeah, some of those also contributed by the performance of state-owned enterprises. And in terms of spending, yeah, the spending of the government is majority for the pandemic recovery, yeah, and then for subsidy. And ladies and gentlemen, also Ibu Titi has provided ways on how we able to contribute to the economic recovery by, for example, yeah, by SDGs, in which SDGs here, it has target and indicators. Then we should contribute to the target and indicators by doing small steps. What are they? Because we are, oh, you are young generation. I am still young, I think. Yeah, by creating job opportunity for entrepreneurship, and then plan your action for something big. So hopefully all of you able to be, what is it, like Bapak Nadiem Makarim with Gojek and Tokopedia and the others. And the last one, cooperation is the key, yeah. So again, we should give applause to those countries who able to perform well in a time of pandemics. Please give your applause. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we still have 25 minutes for QA. Should you have any question, please raise your hand, and please also for the committee to help the audience. Oh, many questions there. Yes, all of those from the center. Please mention your name and where are you from.
Okay.
Then,
good morning, everybody. So my name is Daka Ramadan. I'm from the Islamic State University of Raden Intan Lampung, or Indonesian, UIN Raden Intan Lampung. So welcome to Indonesia for all the foreigners. And my question, okay, just a real quick question. We are facing a global economic recession, right? And we are, as a youth generation, are demanded to save our budget as much as possible so that we are not trapped in this recession. But at the same time, if we do that, the roles of economy will not flow better. Means like our economy will stop. And at the same time, we are youth generation loves to do shopping, and it means that we will spend a lot of budget. Do you think that is a wise action to keep spending budget in this kind of economic recession? Thank you so much. That's my question.
so again, I didn't hear you clearly, as you are from UIN, right? Yes. And your name is?
Daka.
Data.
D-A-K-A. Daka.
D-A-T-A.
K.
Daka.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. Thank you.
Interesting name. So you are asking about, what is it? That we have to keep spending, yeah? To make our economic steady. Yeah, okay. And then the second question, please. Yes?
Yes. Hello, good morning, everyone. So welcome to Indonesia. My name is Andini Rizka Marietta from Telkom University. So thank you for the insightful presentation from Mrs. Titi. Here I would like to give my question and self-analysis about the current situation briefly. So without taking off the optimism from recession handling, as young people, we believe, and I personally believe, that joint or mutual cooperation among society is truly crucial for maintaining national situation being away from recession. But unfortunately, joint cooperation for handling recession will be hardly established without the improvement of individual knowledge and ability about financial literacy, as well as Minister Sri Mulyani said in the event of Literasi Keuangan Indonesia Terdepan on 2021. So, in vague, financial literacy is still not fully involved in our educational material up to now, even though it's much more crucial nowadays side by side with digital literacy. So my question is about what kind of effective movement which is supposed to do by educational field with young people involvement to do in order to play a role in this case regarding Ms. Titi perspective. Thank you.
First two question, or you need more question?
I think one that is in conflict with Ukraine is in G20. But Indonesia managed through its presidency, through its leadership as a president of G20, an agreement, a lot of agreement among the G20 leaders about how to handle the global crisis. Among others is that the pandemic fund, we established 1.5 billion US dollar fund to handle pandemic in the future. It was not achieved, or it was not successfully established last year during Italy's presidency, but we can establish it during Indonesian presidency. So it is worth mentioning. We also established a commitment on energy transition to more renewable, I think part of the SDG, and so many other commitment among the G20 leaders. Also part of the commitment in G20. So we are influencing global economy. Indonesia is in the global leadership role. So that's your modal, yeah. That's your what is it? Equipment to be part of the global discussion to handle pandemic or other global challenges as a youth leader. So in terms of financial literacy and digital literacy, you are right, very, very right about the importance of those two. You read in the news that so many Indonesians are being fooled by pinjol, right? The online loan providers, yeah. That should not happen if Indonesians, either it is general public or students, understand about the cost of borrowing money and how you are responsibly use the money if you borrow money from anywhere. So if you borrow, there must be cost of the loan, right? Either small or large. And you have to study any contract of borrowing that you have with any parties. So basically, the understanding about financial, what you call as financial literacy, and understanding about how the digital world work are very two important elements of what we have to expedite the knowledge about. And of course, through the respective ministries and institutions, in their program have the acceleration process. Like, for example, the OJK and the Bank Indonesia and also the Ministry of Finance are part of the financial literacy and inclusion effort, yeah, jointly. And on digital literacy, as you know, we still have the digital divide. Some of the Indonesians are very, very tech savvy, but majority of Indonesians, especially in rural area, are not yet understand about using the smartphone. So the saving, right? So because you not only live probably might live tomorrow and you might live years to come. So in your financial planning, that's why related to the first question earlier, the financial literacy is very important. So you know how much you have to spend, how much you have to save. So like the government, because of the recession, not because of the recession, because of the pandemic, we have to spend more, otherwise everything collapse. So at that time, as a government, they don't save. They have to spend more to save their population, their citizen, their people, so that they are kept healthy and also not starving. So I think the balance strike between when and that's all I think, Bu Bulan. Terima kasih.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Titi. Mbak Andini and Mas Daka, is that answering your question? I think it's a comprehensive explanation from Bu Titi, yeah? Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Titi. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we still have several minutes here. So, should you have any other question? Still from the center? Yeah? To another question, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Said Intambi.
Sayidi?
Said Intambi, and I'm from Universitas Diponegoro, and I'm from Uganda. I would like to start by saying COVID-19 is actually not the first pandemic that the world is facing. It is actually probably the fifth documented pandemic, and I believe that the human population or the human group has been shaped by infectious diseases. So certainly COVID-19 is not the last pandemic. We are likely to have very many pandemics in the future. But not to lose hope, we usually learn from the past experience and be able to solve solutions in future. So my question is, what has Indonesia learned from this pandemic that it will use to prevent economic recession in future? Give me one single point that I can take back to my country, because in my country we are actually currently still struggling to recover from the pandemic. And paradoxically, 2 months ago, there was an outbreak of Ebola, and this has exacerbated the economic recession in my country. So maybe if you can give me one thing that I can take back to my country to prevent economic recession next time we have a pandemic or next time we have an epidemic, not to recover, because prevention is better than cure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Saidi from Uganda. Yeah, the second one, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, first of all, I will say thank you for Bu Titi for the grateful presentation. Actually, my name is Rahman Fajar Ernawan. Usually my friend call me Rahman. I'm from President University, Indonesia. So for my question, related, you're already present about the problem we facing by Indonesia countries like limited resource. So we should import, cannot export like fossil fuel or another resource then. And for my question, actually in the field, I see Indonesia actually has illegal mining. So I think Indonesia have a more natural resource. So for my question itself is, what the government action for the illegal mining itself? And also, actually Indonesia have many the resource, but unfortunately it's more eco-friendly, like sunshine, like wind, and also hydrogen itself. So why the government not provide the more cost for the building and utilize the resource, and this is more eco-friendly? Thank you.
Yeah, Bu Titi, can you hear clearly about the question of the participant?
Can you repeat Rahman question, the last one, Bu Bulan?
Yeah. For the Ahmad question from President University, she asked about illegal mining. What the government action to cope with the illegal mining issues? That would be the first. And then the second one in relate to renewable energy. What is it? The spending or what? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Your second question, Ahmad.
So
In short, please.
okay, for the second question itself, why the government not provide the many costs for the building or and utilize the
Okay.
renewable itself? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's related to the government funding for renewable energy, Ibu.
Yeah, okay, Bu. Okay, so I go directly to answer the question. Thank you, Bu Bulan. So, Saidi, thank you very much for your question. That was a very excellent question. However, as you may know, I think I will not be able to provide the correct answer to your very important question because no recipe fits all. So it's going to be depends on what's going on in the country, what situation in country, what variables are the variables that need to be considered in each of the particular country are maybe different. So what we can probably share with you is that we utilize all the data available to assess the situation. So basically, the process is that evaluate the problem and make a forward-looking kind of anticipation of the problem, and try to if we already map up the problem, and then we can jot down the root of the problem, and then we address the root of the problem. That's what we did with the pandemic in the past two years, which is clearly outlined in the book that we published. Basically, what is the issue? The pandemic make that people cannot interact, so it means that the economic activity will slow down. If the economic slow down, even stop actually because of the COVID-19, if the economic stop, the government has to do something to support its people so that they are not starving, or they are going to have a demonstration, riots, and so on and so forth. So you have to map up the problem first in order to get the solution. In one of the example that we did is elaborated in the book, maybe can use as a lesson learned. But once again, each country is different. Yeah, no medicine fits for all. So like a doctor, they have to examine the patient, and then by examining the patient, they know what to be provided. So I hope you are not disappointed with the answer, but we can have discussion further if you like. Yeah, because you have a very important question and very mindful with your country, so you're going to be a very good leader in the future for your country. And the question for Rahman, of course, the government take actions about the illegal mining. But of course, you probably know that the challenge, the problem might not as easy as we think, yeah, because Indonesia comprised of more than 500 cities and municipalities. We have so many islands and so on. So the regulation and the sanction is there, yeah, and to be sure that the infrastructure to discipline or to catch the illegal mining is there. It's just that maybe if you don't see the progress, because the progress is much bigger than what we see probably. So on the renewable energy, of course, we are currently committed to reduce the carbon emission. Yeah, and we already committed to Paris Club. That's another, Paris Agreement. That's another multilateral agreement that Indonesia supported. So to prevent the rise of the sea level that going to be affecting many countries in the world of the rise of the sea level. Transition to renewable reduce the carbon emission and preventing the substantial increase of the sea level. But you know that we if we are in transition, it means that we start from non-renewable, right? So we have already have household using the non-renewable energy, companies, factories that use already non-renewable energy, and this needs time to transition to renewable, yeah. And it involves cost, I guess, yeah. It will involve costs. So what Ibu Menteri Keuangan already mentioned, that the transition have to be just and affordable. Artinya, what does it mean? Just and affordable means that we can afford it, yeah, and it is adil, berkeadilan, ya. Jadi tidak dipaksakan. So we are doing this transition. For example, what the government is doing is that to retire their coal power generation, coal batubara, coal power electricity generation. We retire them and shift into the more renewable energy. Yeah, so we are doing it, but we don't do it like today. You have to do it today. Now we have to do it in a just and affordable way, sesuai dengan kemampuan kita, ya. How much we can do this year, how much we can do next year, but at the end of the day, we are reaching the goal that we already committed to. Maybe I hope it answer your question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu Titi. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Should you have more questions, you can write your question into a note, small notes, and then give to the committee. Then we will try to pass through the question to Ibu Titi. Yeah. And hopefully Ibu would like to respond. Yeah.
Happy to do
Thank
that.
you very much.
Makasih, ya.
Yeah. So before I close this session, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to make a conclusion, yeah, regarding with our session here. The first is that Indonesian economy is in a good performance, and then, however, it needs contribution from every actor to give contribution to the economy itself. And then, in relate to the question, yeah, how to do so, how to do in simpler ways to contribute to the economic performance. The first one, by consume wisely. Spending is okay, yeah? And then use technology wisely as well. And then literate as a financial actor. And those from overseas, you can learn from Indonesia economic as a lesson learned. However, you should adjust to the characteristic and variable of economic in each of your country. Yeah. Again, thank you very much, Ibu Titi Anas, and then hopefully you are in a good health. And then thank you very much for valuable insight, and hopefully also you're able to keep up maintaining the Indonesian economics in a good way. Yeah.
Allah, Ibu, terima kasih banyak.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibu. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our session. Thank you very much for the participation in the discussion. And then I am sorry for any inconvenience. Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much for Ibu Bulan and also Dr. Titi Anas. Please give a round of applause for our moderator and also our first keynote speaker for this morning. Very well. Distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our second keynote speaker will also joining us online. She will speak about renewable energy for sustainable universities. Please welcome Member of Commission 7 of the Indonesian House of Representatives, Ibu Diah Roro Esti Widya Putri, BA PGDIP MSc. Hello, good morning, Ibu Diah Roro. Selamat pagi, Ibu. Selamat pagi, Ibu Roro. Apakah bisa mendengar suara kami? Okay, we're still trying to connect to our next keynote speaker. And to guide the delivery of the keynote speech, kindly being invited to the front as the moderator, Bapak Rukuh Setiadi, ST, MAM, PhD.
And colleges, as well as to all online participants out there of the International Student Leader Meeting 2022. First of all, I would like to introduce my name. My name is Rukuh Setiadi. I'm a member of SDG Center of Diponegoro University. And now we are in the second day of the meetings, and in this session, we will focus on renewable energy for sustainable universities. Do we already have the speaker here? Not yet? Oh, yes, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us, Ibu Diah. I think it is a very important topic because energy is the fuel of almost all of sectors and almost all of our activities. And how we generate energy contributing to the extent of future climate change. And in the meantime, we know that renewable energy is emerging and is gaining popularity right now. Yes, 10 years ago, renewable energy shares about 12.9% of the global energy sources. And what about the current state of the figures? And what university can do? And especially what are best role played by students? I think so to give us a perspective on those questions, we have I think young, bright, and distinguished speaker, Ms. Diah Roro Esti Widya Putri. Okay, but before that, please bear with me. I would like to introduce a little bit about our speaker. She has a prestigious and cool position. Yeah, she is a member of Commission 7 of the Indonesia House of Representatives. The commission focuses on energy, research and innovation, and industry. She has had a broad international perspective and various cultural exposure since the early age. Maybe you can see from the curriculum vitae. For example, she spent elementary school in Beijing, China, and Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. High school, guess, where is it? The high school? High school in Jakarta. Yeah, high school in Jakarta. Exactly in Jakarta Intercultural School. And then undergrad for University of Manchester and postgraduate courses from Harvard University, as well as master study from Imperial College London. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Dia. Please take your virtual stage and please enlighten all of us here. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator, for that really kind introduction. And thank you very much, Universitas Diponegoro, for the invitation. I do apologize that I'm not able to be there in person because of my very hectic schedule. And I'm actually not feeling very well today. So I've decided to stay for a bit at home, but then continuing on in the next hour. But as for today, I'd like to share a little bit about the topic that was mentioned earlier with regards to renewable energy for sustainable universities. I tried to kind of make this presentation about how Indonesia right now is going about in terms of climate change mitigation, particularly within the energy sector, what kind of steps we're currently taking in order to find the correct solutions, and also some examples of universities and other buildings alike that have incorporated sustainable practices. So if we could go to the next slide. When we speak of climate change or the climate crisis, this coincides with several financial losses. For example, in Indonesia, if we are not optimal in terms of our climate change mitigation, this is estimation for 2024, we have the potential loss of around 81.82 trillion rupiah, with the result of the rise in sea level, resulting in the sinking of isolated islands or flooding. We also have the potential of losing around 7.29 trillion rupiah as a result of increased temperature at sea level, which can result in coral bleaching, as well as it having an impact on fish production. Also within the agriculture sector, around 19.94 trillion rupiah losses coinciding with forest fires and continuous dry seasons. And also within the health sector, around 6.48 trillion rupiah caused by respiratory problems caused by air pollution. And this is all sourced from the Low Carbon Development Indonesia, in which I have the pleasure of being one of the commissioners, alongside very prominent figures, including our former Vice President of Indonesia, Bapak Yusuf Kalla. And if we can go to the next slide. So these are just some of the economic losses, but I do also want to highlight the time of gains that we are able to obtain when we optimize on a low carbon development. So the National Development Planning Agency, or Bappenas, have launched, as I mentioned earlier, the LCDI, and based on the report that has been established, we have the potential of creating more than 1.8 to 15.3 million additional jobs by 2030 and 2045, which are considered to be or considerably more green and higher in terms of the pay. We can reduce extreme poverty by 4.2% of the population by 2045. We are also able to save 40,000 lives every year. You can imagine, by reducing air and water pollution. I think a lot of people don't recognize the great impact in which air and water pollution has on human life. And particularly with air pollution, this is something that we cannot see, just like the COVID pandemic. This is not something we're able to see, but it's deadly. And so when we do, when we maximize on low carbon development, we're able to save that many lives. And also we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 43% in 2030, which is higher than the expected or the target in which has been set through the Conference of the Parties, or COP21 Paris Agreement back in 2015, which has been ratified through law 2016 at the Indonesian parliament alongside with the government, with the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 29%. So I'd like to highlight firstly in this slide with regards to the kind of benefits that we can obtain when we do put forth low carbon development in our country. Now, when we speak of the energy sector, particularly because we're speaking of the renewables aspect, if we go to the next slide, I'd like to kind of convey to everybody present today with regards to the fact that the energy sector contributes roughly 30% of our overall emissions in the country. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a target of decreasing greenhouse gas emissions by 29%. But when we speak of the emissions generally on a national level in Indonesia, 30% of it comes from the energy sector. And so when we speak of our energy portfolio, this is predominantly fueled by the fossil fuel industry. However, I think actually I'd like to also additionally point out that 70% of our currently, more or less 70% of our electricity is coming from the fossil fuel industry as well. So majority is coal that is being optimized for our electricity right now in the country. However, I'd like to also highlight the fact that fossil fuels have an expiry date. So when we speak of the oil, we have a remaining of 4.17 billion barrels, estimating to run out in 9.5 years down the line. When we speak of gas, this has the potential of running out in 19.9 years down the line. And coal, it has a higher life expectancy of 65 years down the line. But all in all, cumulatively, we know that each of these resources have an expiry date unless we are able to do further exploration in this field alone. And as we see from the graph here, we derived this graph from the Indonesia Energy Outlook. From the years 2020 to 2050, we predict that energy consumption and energy demand will continuously rise. Okay, so taking note that there is an expiry date to fossil fuels. However, we also know that the energy demand will continuously rise over the course of time. And this is very much in line with the growth of our economic growth, in terms of the GDP as well, and the potential of being one of the largest economies in the world by 2045, maximizing on our bonus demographic dividend. And so with that being said, there needs to be an effort for us to diversify our energy portfolio so that we do not experience an energy crisis. If we rely solely on fossil fuel, we will not, and I can guarantee that we will not be able to survive in the years to come. That's why it's very important, with the hopes of also mitigating climate change, of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, we also explore the renewable energy space. So if we can go to the next slide, there's a lot of potential for the renewable energy sector all across different parts of Indonesia. For example, here in the slide, if we can go to the next slide, there are so many different examples from different parts of the country, stretching from Sumatra to Maluku, Sulawesi, even the Javanese islands as well. And when we speak of the installed capacity of renewable energy, when we speak of electricity, with that being said, only 0.34% of our total potential has been realized. I'm not sure if the slides are or if you're able to see on the screen here, the slide that I'm talking about, because on my screen, it's still on the energy. Yeah, this is the one. So here I'd like to highlight that there are so many potentials for renewables, whether we speak of hydro power spreading all over Indonesia, particularly as you can see on the map, North Kalimantan, North Sumatra, and also Papua. When we speak of solar, spreads pretty much all over the country as well, particularly in Timur, yeah, so in East Nusa Tenggara, as well as West Kalimantan and Riau have big potential for this. Wind power, we know the famous one called Sidrap, which is in Makassar, but in general, there are potential for this in East Nusa Tenggara, South Kalimantan, West Java, Papua as well. Ocean spreads across the country. As we know, we are the biggest archipelago in the world. Geothermal spreads in the Ring of Fire areas, particularly in Sumatra, Jawa, Bali, Nusa Tenggara, Sulawesi, and Maluku. It's so important to also highlight that we, I think around 40% of the world's geothermal reserves actually resides in Indonesia. So this slide is pretty much trying to convey to everybody in terms of the statistics and the facts in which Indonesia has high potential for renewable energy to grow. So what are some of the barriers that we are currently facing with regards to renewable energy? If we can go to the next slide. In terms of the regulation, we have ratified the Paris Agreement. Yes, we have committed to decrease greenhouse gas emissions, as I mentioned earlier. Also, we have Undang-Undang Energy as well, with the hopes of, having 23% renewables by 2025. And also, there are so many other targets as well politically. However, one of the things that we currently need is a political framework and policy that is very much focused thoroughly and solely on the developments of renewable energy in our country. So when we look at the political landscape on a national and general level, on the next slide, President Joko Widodo is very much committed on this. And this has been exemplified in several means, particularly, the times in which he has came to the parliament. So the president has presented to us in parliament of this need and this urgency for energy transition, as well as, if we can go to the next slide. I'm not able to operate my slides from here. Yes, this slide is the one. And also the coordinating minister for economic affairs, Bapak Erlangga Hartarto, has also, who is head Sherpa, chair Sherpa of the G20, has also increasingly declared the urgency really for energy transition in our country. So there is great momentum for this. And for those of you who have followed the progress through the G20, if we can go to the next slide. We have what's called the Energy Transition Mechanism. Indonesia has obtained a commitment from the Just Energy Transition Partnership. If we can go to the next slide, amounting to around $20 billion. However, there are a lot of prerequisites that we need to fulfill in order for us to secure this funding. And this is something that I actually highlighted yesterday during our meeting with the Minister of Energy, with regards to the fact that the JETP, I'm so sorry for this. It's not supposed to be GTEP, but it's supposed to be JET and then apostrophe P. So the JETP is currently being discussed by the government, and I also pushed the Minister of Energy yesterday for us to be able to, for the government to be able to present to us the concrete steps in which they can fulfill in order for our country to then obtain this this funding of $20 billion. So some of the prerequisites include the ability for Indonesia to reach net zero emissions by 2050. This is very challenging for us because our target on a national level is to set forth for 2060. Also, there needs to be a stop on the development of new power plants that are fueled by coal, and also the need for retirement of coal power plants as well. And this is something that we need to push the government to really just ask how serious they are in order to achieve something like this. And also generally a decrease of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, which may potentially be higher than the ones set by the COP agreement. There are a little bit of an update to the decrease of greenhouse gas emissions as agreed on the COP. I know earlier I said 29%, but this has been increased by 30% onwards. We will provide you with the statistics after this presentation if you would like, so everyone can be updated with regards to the international landscape and our current commitment in this regard. Also, there is the fact that the G20 leaders agreed to accelerate and ensure an energy transition that is sustainable, fair, affordable, and investment inclusive. There's also the Bali Compact and the Bali Energy Transition Roadmap, which were agreed upon to find solutions to achieve energy market stability, transparency, and affordability. The Bali roadmap prioritizes on three different things, including secure energy access, increased smart and clean technology, as well as increased funding and energy. There's a lot of mobility and engagement during the G20, and this is something that we should all be proud of, with the fact that we were able to host such a prestigious event, which have resulted in numerous conclusions. And we do hope that in the years to come, the next steps forward would be to collectively hand in and realizing these targets together. In the next slide, yes, this one, in order to lower emissions, there are so many things we can do within the energy sector, including incentivizing cleaner energy sources, create special economic zones across the country to boost economic activity, consider the phasing out of coal where feasible, implementing CCUS or carbon capture utilization storage technologies. This slide particularly was something that I conveyed during the COP27 in Egypt just a while back, just a few weeks ago, in order to kind of give an update to the international community as to what we are looking to do in the next years to come. And now, what are the relevance to the utilization of renewable energy at Indonesian universities? I try to kind of incorporate that in this presentation. If we go to the next slide, there are several examples of universities in Indonesia that use solar energy for their electricity. For example, in Institut Teknologi Malang, with the solar capacity of 500 kilowatts per hour, or 0.5 megawatt peak. Sorry, kilowatts peak, not hour. And also, secondly, Institut Teknologi Sumatera with solar capacity of 1 megawatt peak. There's also Universitas Tanjung Pura with solar capacity of 1.5 megawatt peak. There are so many different examples. If we go to the next slide, there are campuses around the world. For example, in the University of Groningen, Netherlands, where there is an energy positive building which produces more than it consumes. There's a rooftop solar energy system as well being implemented, which is really, really cool. I think aesthetically it looks pretty cool, but also in terms of the energy saving is something that I feel we can all follow the footsteps of. There's also the Eco Building at Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands, energy positive building, again producing more than it consumes. There is 1,200 rooftop solar panels being implemented and installed as well, which is really, really cool. And if we go to the next slide, if we see in Universitas Indonesia, also is an example of a 40% energy saving system that they've incorporated. They also have a solar energy rooftop system being installed. And in Universitas Diponegoro, so your university is also, incorporating sustainable and green practices, which is something that we should all be grateful for. There is a 65% energy saving mechanism currently being put in place. There is 76 solar panels that can generate up to 35.5 megawatts hour of energy. And this is something that hopefully other universities across the country can follow. As for the next slide, where I currently work right now as a member of parliament representing the district of Gresik and Lamongan, and currently a member of Commission 7, which deals with the energy, research, innovation, and industry sectors. We currently have optimized on solar or rooftop solar energy. So we have around 1,955 kilowatts peak, and also the energy park as well, which is really just in front of, sorry, this is like at the back end of the entrance of the parliament. So just behind the Gedung Kura-Kura, we have the energy park, which amounts to around 150.5 kilowatts peak. It generates more than 222,200 kilowatts an hour and supplies 30.6% of the total electricity demand generally in the building. It saves money as well, of around 2.4 billion rupiah per year. So there is a lot of strengths associated to the renewable energy sector. It all just boils down to, do we have the system for this? Do we have the obligation, or really just the intention, the niat gitu ya, untuk melakukan perubahan-perubahan yang pada dasarnya dibutuhkan gitu. So this is something that we're trying to push in the parliament. So my last slide is wanting to kind of just tell everybody here, if we can go to the next two slides, with regards to the what is currently happening at the Indonesian parliament. We are trying to push the new and renewable energy bill, with the hopes that this can give a solution and give a comprehensive legal basis. We hope that this can complement the regulatory deficiencies in the previous regulations. We can build a conducive new and renewable energy ecosystem and investment climate. Can we go to the next slide? I hope there won't be a problem for that. Yeah. And also the Paris Agreement as well, with regards to the energy sector, we have the potential of decreasing even more emissions. And so Commission 7, we have done our homework. We have opened the discussions to more than 20 institutions. We've talked to the academics, we've talked to the private sector, the non-governmental organizations, the intergovernmental, regional government. There are so many people that we spoke to and kind of opened our doors with regards to this bill. And if we can go to the next slide, there's a lot being covered, and I'd like to highlight that this is politics. Everything around you is a result of a political process, and this is something that is something that we have to accept, and it's something that we have to be aware of. You know, I think politics plays such an important and integral part of development, and without having the right policies, we will not be able to create the changes that we're looking to achieve for the country. And so getting the politicians to be in the right frame of mind, with the right intentions and the right goals, is essential in creating the changes that we need to see in the future. The Indonesian parliament right now is very committed in creating a sustainable future. We are in parliament, it consists of 9 political parties, and we have successfully agreed upon the need for this transition. This again we had to go through a very long process, but I'm very happy to announce that we are now all in the same page, and we hope that this bill can really just support in terms of the funding, in terms of the procedure, in terms of the facilities and infrastructure, human resource capacity development, technology application, investment generally as well, and also the monitoring process, pengawasan, maybe there needs to be a separate body which can not only regulate but also just monitor the implementation of renewable energy across the country. We don't have this yet because the scale of renewables right now is still relatively small in comparison to Parliament. So I do hope that you find this very useful. I'm so sorry that I will not be able to stay until the end because I do have to go in the next 10 minutes. But thank you very much for your time, and I do hope that you found this presentation useful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Ibu Dia, for your cool presentation, crystal clear. I think I will not repeat again or summarize what you already presented, and then directly over to the floor here. All students have a lot of questions since the beginning. They talk about or ask about renewable energy. Even the session is about economic. So I think yes, yes. One question. Any other question? Two questions. Three questions. Okay, I will limit it to three. Hopefully, Ibu Dia still have time to answer their curiosity and their questions. Okay, please, in the front side, mention your names and maybe brief questions directly.
Thank you. I'll make it brief.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. The host of Undip, thank you very much for having this International Student Leadership. It's a great event, and I'm happy to be here. I'm from Hasanuddin University. I'm not the student, I'm one of the lecturers, but I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Ibu Dia. Your presentation is excellent for us. Give us really enlightenment of what the commission in the Parliament House is doing. Thank you very much. Very brief question, especially on the support of electrical vehicles, Ibu Dia. What is actually can be done for this? Because one of the renewable energy that we are trying to reduce the emission is by having these electric vehicles. In university, we have some research on this, but I would like to know what the Parliament is doing to push on the government of the use of these electric vehicles, because it's still expensive, and maybe the push on this will help us to reduce the emission. And lastly, about the provision of variety of energy sources, I'm wanting to comment on the micro electrical power generator that we need to support with the local small government, small people, I mean, how this can be also used. Because when we use solar power, it's usually for big cities and others, but we also need to consider how this local people, can be also supported with the provision of electrical in the small rural villages, etc. This needed to be considered. Thank you. If you can comment on these topics, would be very much appreciated. Yeah. Thank you for your presentation. I'm very much impressed of your performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Ilham.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ilham, for your questions. Maybe hold, and then yes, the second question, ladies in the middle, in the center, yes, wearing glasses. Yes, please.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ayasa Ramadhani Pramesti, and I'm from ITS University. And also thank you for Mrs. Dia for the very insightful presentation. So I would like to ask related to renewable energy. So as all we know, fossil energy is still much more affordable than renewable energy. Therefore, many people still prefer to use fossil energy instead of renewable energy. So I would like to ask, how can we change this system from your perspective? And I also have another question. My other question is, as all we know also, oil and gas are still one of the biggest commodity that is being exported to other countries. How would it affect our economy if we change our main source of energy to pure renewable energy as our main source energy? Thank you.
Well, thank you. And the last for this session, yes, a gentleman in the middle, wearing white shirts, please.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate also Undip. My question is, despite the fact that emissions in the air, actually what they do cause is a respiratory-related kind of problem to the health. I'm wondering, when I came to Indonesia, part of their social life is more of smoking. It's not an insult to say. I'm wondering, despite that we are looking up to conservation of energy through use of solar, but at the back of the mind, you're trying to reduce emission release or gases into the air. And the population, you're trying to actually prevent from inhalation of the emissions, does a lot of smoke as a social life. I would like clarity on what probably the representatives or the government has done to see that it can protect the community it wants to serve the energy for. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All these three questions, maybe it's time to Ibu Dia to give a response or react to this question. Please, your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Yang pertama buat Pak Ilham ya. So the first one is for Pak Ilham, one of the lecturers that is present here today. Thank you for the question. I think electric vehicles is one of the things that we're trying to push in Indonesia. The G20 summit has been quite pivotal in proving that we are able to, be able to kind of optimize on the electric vehicles. Yes, Bali in a sense was a test case for this as well. In a way, we can say that this was a pilot study for the potential in which we can achieve going forward with regards to the optimization of electric vehicles. Perhaps some of you have kind of followed up with how renewable energy have been optimized during the G20 summit. And I do hope that this does not stop at the G20 summit. This can continue for years to come in the country. We've held conversations with the current governor of Bali, Pak Koster, as well, as to what kind of plans he has going forward. Because when we speak of electric vehicles, there is around 70 charging stations. Commission 7 actually had a working trip visit to Bali to kind of monitor the process of pre-G20. So before the G20 summit started, we had a working visit there. We spoke to the governor as well with regards to what kind of preparations have been set forth for us to receive all of these world leaders, including everybody that came as well. And so one of the things that they've incorporated is that they have around 70 charging stations across the island, you can imagine. And this is something that I feel needs to optimize on a national level. And again, it all boils down to the fact that not only the transportation aspect is important, but also the infrastructure aspect is also very important. Infrastructure in terms of the charging stations, we need to make this more readily available to the public. And one of the things that we're trying to push the government through Pertamina, because Pertamina is also one of our working partners, is how can the existing gas stations or SPBU can also be optimized for charging stations as well. Because right now we do have several charging stations, but they are not consistent and are not necessarily available in all gas stations across the country. So this is something that we can potentially push going forward in order for the infrastructure to be readily available as well. In terms of the pricing, again, everything is derived by demand. So unfortunately, the demand for vehicles that are not necessarily powered by electricity is a lot larger. And so this has a lot of impact on the price as well. But I think going forward, when we have the right regulations set forward, jadi regulasinya sudah ada, lalu kemudian if we also have the infrastructure for it, then this will automatically drive the demand, because the demand is very interesting. Not a lot of people will want to shift if they themselves believe and feel that it will be a burden for them, right? So if they don't know or unaware that, you know, there are charging stations available, you know, and they don't have that security, that sense of security that they will be okay in the streets if, for example, say they ran out of charging, or they are in a position of needing to charge their vehicle, you know, that also drives demand, right? Aside from that, also the competitiveness in terms of the pricing, etc. So there is a top-down approach from this as well, and with regards to the need for a regulation for it, but particularly on electric vehicles, but then also how the governments, alongside our state-owned enterprises, to work on the you know, making available charging stations across the country for us to then drive demand in the future, for then electric vehicles to be more competitive within the market. Because yes, we are decreasing greenhouse gas emissions when we do optimize on electric vehicles in our country, but then bear in mind that we are decreasing greenhouse gas emissions within the transportation sector. However, in the energy sector, this is also something that we need to study, because if we still charge, potentially increase. And so our next step is also think about how these charging stations are being fueled, where our electricity is coming from, etc. So this is, again, a big homework for the government, but I'm quite optimistic because the G20 summit have proven that our leaders, our leader of the country as well, have made substantial progress in the kind of insights that they have going forward. And with regards to the micro renewables, we do have Rencana Umum Energi Daerah, so policies that are being implemented at the regional level as well, in which small scale renewable energy is hoped to be optimized. And this again is being not driven, but this depends on the regulation of each province. I know in Jawa Timur, we do have a lot of potential for example, waste to energy facilities, a small scale, and this is currently being backed up and supported by the government. So this is something that hopefully can be achieved in other provinces across the country. The question from ITS, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. I did not catch your name, I'm so sorry, but how can renewables be more preferred in our country? I think it all boils down to the competitiveness. Again, we are not competitive enough in terms of the pricing, and so we do need a regulation that can regulate this. We need to make sure that there is enough incentive later on the market for renewables to prosper. We do need to try to integrate the carbon taxing system that was meant to be levied on April of this year, but we're currently facing a halt. And I think it's our job as well as, or everyone here as students, to question that, why is the government not doing enough in terms of the application or the application of the carbon taxing system? Because in that way, if we do incorporate the carbon taxing system, then this will make renewable energy more competitive within the energy market, taking into account the negative externalities associated to the fossil fuel industry. This will be a huge win for the renewable sector. And so my question right now, even to the government, is what's taking so long, right? So that's one thing. And also when we speak of pure renewable energy in Indonesia alone, that's very idealistic, and I would love to be in that position, but we also need to be realistic. I think that's what politics have taught me, is to be able to combine the all of these targets and these ideal scenarios that I'd like to see, but also realistically whether this is possible or not. Indonesia, luckily, is a country that is very rich in resources. We are rich in the fossil fuel sector, we are rich in the renewable energy sector, even the new energy sector as well. So we have the privilege of having a choice, right? So one of the things that we are trying to push is to transition. In order to transition, this will take time. And so I do hope that in the years to come, we are able to change our energy portfolio, in which a majority can be driven by the renewable energy sector. And the fossil sector, even if we do optimize it, this can be set forth as the base load of our energy. because we do not want to see what happened in several countries in Europe to happen in Indonesia as well, particularly stemming from the crisis or the war happening in Ukraine and Russia, in which there are countries in Europe who have optimized on renewable energy, no longer use coal, are now going in the steps of going back to coal because of their emergency situation. And so we do not want to be in that situation. I think every country shifts or transitions in several ways, and Indonesia has its way of doing so. And I do hope in the future that our energy mix can be led by the renewable energy sector, because again, this does not have a time limit, in which the fossil fuel industry does have a expiry date. And for the last question, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to really catch the question. So yes, we do have probably you could say a smoking culture. I personally don't like to smoke, but I do understand that this may be the culture in Indonesia, but I'm not really sure with regards to how that relates to the implementation of renewable energy. But I do hope, but again, yes, when we speak of air pollution and how that has detrimental impacts on our health, the same thing goes for smoking, also has a detrimental impact on our health. There's a reason why smoking packages is very expensive in emerging and developed nations, because they are trying to promote a healthier lifestyle. But in Indonesia, this is very cheap. And so in a way, we are encouraging this kind of behavior, unfortunately, but this is something that I do hope can improve in future, because again, anything that is detrimental to our health will play a big role and has a massive impact on our human capital. And the quality of our human capital has a detrimental impact on our economic growth in general. So I do hope that answers the question, yeah, Pak Moderator.
Yes, thank you for your question, and I think it's answering all these questions. Do you mind to taking up one short questions?
Okay, one more, ya, Pak.
Okay, yeah, one more questions. Okay. Yes, from here, the left side, please. Please make it concise and quick questions.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
My name is Firuz, Bukhara State University, Uzbekistan.
Can a little bit louder, please? Yes.
Yes, of course. Let me ask you a question. As far as we know, the energy production is becoming popular in the world, but the main thing is that the sustainable energy production is affordable for all societies. Unfortunately, today there is a problem in the world that energy production is expected Europe is expected to experience energy crisis in the upcoming winter. So my question is that, do you think sustainable energy production, such as energy taken from wind energy or solar energy, can supply in recent years? For example, because of the war that is taking place between Russia and Ukraine, Europe is expected to experience a huge energy they will need. So how many years does it take from our scientists or from the whole world to replace the sustainable energy or to replace the current expensive energy with sustainable energy? Is that clear?
Yeah, so if bisa langsung ya, Pak, ya?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much from Virus from Uzbekistan. Thank you for your question, and I'm yet to visit your country, and I do hope that I can in the future. So thank you for the question. Yes, I think a lot of the countries in Europe right now who are optimizing on renewable energy are currently facing a difficult time because in terms of the the demand for example heating, especially in the winter time, has been kind of put on a halt with regards to the impact of the war currently taking place. But all in all, when we speak of the renewable energy and how this can be optimized in the years to come, again, it boils down to every country is different. So I cannot necessarily generalize, for example, what is being experienced in Europe to be the same exact case for Indonesia alone. Right now, anyway, what we're trying to optimize in is because we do have a richness in resources of all types of energy. So one of the ways in which we're trying to do this is we're still utilizing fossil fuel, but we are now taking small steps, hopefully fast enough for transitioning and for us to then optimize on renewable energy given our immense potential for this. But other countries in Europe, not all, for example, may have the same kind of energy portfolio as Indonesia, for example. Like, I think where was it? Was it Denmark? I think it was Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. We studied about their kind of process of transitioning, and it did take quite a while. It took them more than 30 years actually from the use of fossil fuels, in which actually they imported. I'm not sure from which country, but they did import fossil fuels for their electricity generation. But I do get the feeling that they're trying to be independent in terms of their energy supply. And so they've decided to optimize on offshore wind energy. And so through a very long, lengthy political process, they were able to rummage through and establish a energy portfolio that is predominantly based on predominantly based on renewable energy. And this works out better for their economy. This works out better for their sovereignty. And right now, even though the war is happening, and even though that does have immense impact on countries across the world, but they are still able to sustain themselves. Right. And so again, every country is facing different situations and scenarios. And yes, the current crisis is having a toll on the current oil and gas prices, for example. So yes, there is a international impact in which is also being experienced in Indonesia. But again, every country is different in terms of their energy portfolio. Indonesia, I do hope personally that we can shift and we can transition as fast as possible, because that way we can then optimize on our renewable energy potential as well. So I do hope that that answers the question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your clear answer, Ibu Dia. And although there are many raising hand here, but I do believe that we have to move forward to the next session, and we are in the end of the session. Please join me together to applause Ibu Dia for the nice contributions to our meeting. Thank you so much, Ibu Dia.
Terima kasih. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Back to the MC, please.
Thank you very much, Bapak Ruku, and also Ibu Dia Roro, for the time in sharing your expertise with us. What a very dynamic, fruitful session that we have before. Okay, we still have another amazing keynote speaker joining us online. She will speak about networking as a tool for sustainable universities implementation. Please welcome Regional Focal Point, Asia Pacific of Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth, Ms. Sitara Kumbale. Good morning, Ms. Sitara Kumbale.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Okay. And to guide the delivery of the keynote speech and discussion, kindly being invited to the front as the moderator Ibu Desi Arianti, STMT, PhD.
Yeah. Thank you for the MC. So good morning to the Honorable Universitas Diponegoro leaders and also invited guests, the representative of UI Green Metric and also the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, SDSN Indonesia, distinguished keynote speakers and all the participants, student leader from over 45 universities and also 14 countries. We also have participants that are joining us virtually today via Zoom and also YouTube platform. So welcome to Indonesia, welcome to Semarang, and also welcome to Universitas Diponegoro. It's really such a pleasure and honors to be with you today here and experience new things. And also we believe that this will be a part of your journey to become a leaders in the community for the SDGs achievement. My name is Desi Arianti. I'm the Secretary of SDG Center Universitas Diponegoro, and I will be in charge for these sessions that will discuss about the networking as a tools for sustainable universities implementations and how the networking as well as partnerships can accelerate the SDGs achievement. So before I introduce you deeply to our keynote speakers today, I would like to start with some introductions. Collaboration across sectors has appeared as one of the keywords for the international developments in the 21st century, and networking as well as partnership has grown to become an essential paradigm in the sustainable development. The fundamental base of good networking and partnership is their ability to bring together diverse resources in the way that it can together achieve more impact, greater sustainability, increase value to all. Each part of the society, such as universities, communities, private sectors, governments, NGO, and others, have crucial role as a development actors, and the networking collaborations and cooperations among them will next keynote speakers today. Ms. Sitara Kumbale is the SDSN Youth Regional Focal Point Asia Pacific. So if you search on the Google, the SDSN network or SDSN Youth is one of the world's biggest network for young leaders working together to accelerate solutions toward the sustainable development goals. It connects young people to pathways of understanding and actions to shape a sustainable world for the future generations. So I will give a brief introduction to Sitara. Sitara holds a Bachelor of Technology Engineering from National Institute Technology Karnataka, Surankal, and also Master of Applied Science in Data Economics and Development Policy, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She has experience in Wells Fargo as a research assistant in United Nations development programs and many more. So without further ado, please welcome Sitara.
Hi, good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for introducing me, Desi. It's so nice to be here with you today. Yeah, I'm really excited to be speaking at this event. I just caught a little bit the last part of the speech from the previous speaker, and it was so engaging and so exciting to listen to the renewable energy developments in Indonesia. And yeah, I think it was like really exciting to listen in and see what progress is being made there. So I'm going to be touching upon topics of networking and the role the youth has in achieving the sustainable development goals. I'm just going to wait till we have my slides up. There we go, almost like that. Awesome. So I'm going to be talking specific networks and youth networks within universities, youth networks within communities, whatever youth networks you are the most familiar with and you are the most involved, achieve and like push the SDG talk to the forefront. And 13 and 17. Within the STSN youth spectrum, I work specifically very, very focused on partnerships for the goals, which is why I'm here delivering this talk about networking. I'm going to start with giving you a brief about what we do at STSN Youth, what our objectives are, why we believe that youth as a whole are kind of the future in really pushing for these SDGs. And then I'm going to take you through some of the work we've done at STSN Youth in the Asia Pacific region. Followed by that, we have a small activity, which I hope you all are going to enjoy participating in. So we can just switch. Right. So STSN Youth, what we believe is that youth and the young leaders really hold the potential to actually the most capable, the most critical thinkers, the leaders, and really the people who hold the key to achieving the SDGs, and not just the SDGs, to really like making sure that we have a very sustainable future set out for us. We're a global network, we're spread across the world. The STSN Youth was founded by Professor Jeffrey Sachs a while ago. I think we've been around for quite a few years now. But yeah, it was founded by Professor Jeffrey Sachs. It was kind of founded in collaboration with STSN Network. They bring the voice of the youth to the forefront and really kind of encourage that cross-collaborative networking between people who are building policy, people who are researching policy within the university space, and kind of bringing youth voices to that, so that youth have a larger, in just really shaping policy and really like encouraging the implementation of the SDGs within the foreseeable future. If we can switch to the next slide, I'm going to be talking through, why we believe youth are the future. Just as we do that, just as we go to the next slide, I think I'd just like to talk through some of like our key like objectives. I think our objective of STSN Youth is pretty much kind of centered around youth itself and really like elevating youth to a position where they're empowered to achieve the SDGs, where they're empowered to make connections, where they're empowered to network within their communities and even outside their community. Just going to be taking a deep dive we've had in the Asia Pacific, and this is where so what we did was we, sent out invites to universities to send youth representatives from the universities, really built like this network and we had people from around 13 countries to work to build, brought them together to really work together and outline their priorities for what they believe the Asia Pacific region as a whole should focus on, should like really prioritize in terms in like COP27. We also had some COP delegates coming in, people who had gone to COP previously, as well as people who were set to go to COP this year. We had them coming in and talking about their COP experiences. This, I would say, 13-country network of university students brought out these 4 priorities. One of it was really centralizing marginalized voices, which was really bringing voices of youth, voices of women, voices of like Native communities that often get marginalized to the forefront. The second one was about climate education and, which is a regional network creating. They want to be able to reuse it. And they also want to be able to write a policy report that can be circulated within the policymakers of the region. The framework that they're building is being closely supported by Monash University, which is their host university. And they've kind of engaged in this 3-step process. The first has been like engaging with university students across the region and just universities in general. They've this design thinking workshop and shaping the understanding of the SDGs. They also had a very specific COP27 series study of some of the work that we did in STS and Youth Korea. And I think this is more tied to the work this is more tied to like SDG implementation rather than SDG research, which is so different from some of the previous like works I took you through. What Korea has is they've like broken down the national SDGs into what they call the SDGs between cultures, between people, and it really helps you. So I would really encourage you to do it. And in your next break, just maybe, talk to the people next to you, talk to the people around you, people from different regions, and ask them what they thought the problems were, what they thought the specific pain points were within their community, and how they would like seek to really mitigate these pain points. And I think that's kind of how you build your network. That's how you talk about, that's a first step in networking for the SDGs. And yeah, I would really encourage you guys to do it. If not now, if we're pressed for time, if not now, later as well.
Yeah, cool.
Because talk about it. Talk about what you identified as a pain point within like people.
Because I think, sorry. After this, we will have like after lunch, we will do have some FGD for.
I think it's not proper enough if that person is represent the country. Let me give you example. Let's say in Indonesia. In Indonesia, we are a diverse community. Sometimes, I'm standing.
Engaging not just with youth on the ground, but also kind of youth communities and support structure. Your question specifically around social media is to leverage that social media to spread SDG awareness, and of like, during COP, how we held Instagram lives. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. I would love to take a follow-up if you do have it, but I would like to answer the second question from Jadith. Thank you for that question. And I think I think it's a very important thing that you brought up, Jadith. The rural youth and missed opportunity in terms of like lack of access itself, that these youth may not really have access to communication channels or even like forums where they can express their voices. What we've been doing of late has been to like have on the ground events. And this was really put, I would say, on hold because of COVID. But since the pandemic's been slowing down a little bit, we've been pushing more and more to have like these on the ground events where we can actually go to rural communities, or more so, less so me, but more so like on the ground volunteers or on the ground local SDG partners would go to like these communities and engage with like specific youth. We've also started to work more and more with like member organizations and NGOs that work with rural youth, that work with all kinds of youth, whether that's like school children, whether that's rural school children, whether that's more rural youth. So it's to like bring these voices to the forefront. I think we're using like different channels, whether that's us engaging directly or us engaging through NGOs and other member organizations. And I think, you did highlight that as, I would say, one of the key pain points. I think that's one of the key pain points we're trying to address at STS and youth as well, to really make sure that all youth have their voices heard and all youth have like opportunity in conveying what they want to convey. So yeah, thank you for that question. And I mean, I think that's definitely something you should discuss with some of the other delegates that have attended today, and see if there are better solutions than the one I just mentioned.
Yeah, thank you, Sitara, for your answers. I hope it so I think I will conclude our discussions today. It's time for the student leader to take actions, analyzing the problems and finding solutions through research and also networking. I think that's really important as what we conduct today. And I hope those will brings like 10 to 100 folds of impact to the society. Thank you, Sitara. And once again, please give big applause to Sitara Kembali. Yeah, and maybe my time is up. There will be next sessions that will be led by the MC.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today. Back to you, Dasi.
Yeah, thank you, Sitara. Time, because we do have one more keynote speakers that will speak today physically, will be present here. Yeah, so we will invite our Vice Rector for Research, Innovations, and Collaborations, Professor Ambarianto, that will talk about how we become a sustainable. So maybe the committee can try to bring the slides of Professor Ambarianto. So he will give a talk about how we become a sustainable, having the sustainability series, undergraduate programs, and then he did masters in the ocean science from University of South Wales, and also PhD in marine ecology from the University of Sydney. He also awarded as a World's Top 100 Agriculture and Forestry Science on 2022, and also experience in doing research related to the sustainability.
Generous introduction. Masih belum keluar? Belum. Again, thank you very much, Bu Desi, for the introduction. As you can see on the slide, my name is Ambarianto, only one single word. Single word as a name. The leaders in higher education institution. Next. On the outline, the first one, I'm going to talk about complexity of higher education institution, and then sustainability leaders, and then development of sustainable leaders in higher education institution. Next. Okay, the first one, next. As higher education institution, at least we have three main aspects that influence how we manage the higher education institution. My experience to become a member of management of universities, at least we are talking about human resource, for example. We have to think about students, even parents, and employer, academics, administrative staff, and so on. And the second one, we have to also think about infrastructure and environment. For example, we have to think about classrooms. We have to provide laboratories, library, stadium even, hospital even, if you can. And then the last one is teaching and learning processes. Courses, and then practical work, faculty, school, department, study program, and so on. We have to think about that too. So with three aspects, it's already complicated when you are managing in the higher education institutions like universities. Next. Not only three aspects actually, there are another factors which influence how we manage universities. For example, we have to think about welfare, health, and comfort, for example, for students and for academics. We are also influenced by social and political changes in the country, for example. And then government ministry regulations, slide before this, please. And then we also have to think about accreditation, ranking, custom, and so on. Next. Yes, the development of universities, the first universities established usually become teaching university. And then they try to become research university, and then there's also world-class university, entrepreneur, and right now I think it's very common to discuss about sustainability, sustainable universities. Next. We actually conducted surveys on why students choosing Diponegoro University as their place to study. And those are the result. High rank and high cluster is become one of their, reason to choose Diponegoro University. Successful alumni as well. And then how clean the campus is, how comfortable, healthy, even secure, and facilities available in the university. Those are actually close to sustainable university actually. Next. In regard to definition of sustainability campus, there are many definitions. I took 3 of them. The first one is stressing on developing a culture of sustainability and stewardship of natural resources. And then also the second one is its ecological footprint. The third one is the minimization of negative environmental, economic, and so on, in regard to actually related to how we manage natural resources in a campus. Next. This declaration is very interesting because it was signed by 500 university presidents and chancellors from over 50 countries. This is about university leaders for sustainable future. There are 10 points that they are agreed upon in the declaration. Next. When we are talking about transformation model to become sustainable university, if you can see in the triangle in the middle, sustainable campus, there are 3 aspects, 3 approaches. The first one is internal approaches. We are talking about internal campus. And then external approaches, we are also talking about community surrounding the campus. And academic approaches, this is talking about curriculum campus. Next. Next. We know about this, and in general, good leadership is, they have to have a good vision, good decision, and so on until performance. This is very general leadership, good leadership. Next. People, objects, processes, and so on. The second one, think globally and toward. The third one, protect nature. And then sustainable leadership spread must be a shared responsibility. Sustainable leadership is social just, has to be resourceful, and promotes diversity, and also activists, usually. And system must support sustainable leadership. The system within the campus must support the next. There is another one, 10 pillars of sustainable leadership. The first one is change orientation, broad system thinking, and so on, until mentoring and development. So there are many principles that has to be characterized by on sustainability, involved in each stage. So you have to have experience in each stage. Internship, visiting other organizations, for example, comparative studies. And then given program responsibility. So you have to have responsibility. And the next one. The third one is coordination. Determine the success of the program is a special ability and skill to determine the success of program. Coordination within organization, even both horizontal and vertical. Even with inside and outside of the organization, when you are in university, for example, you have to have a coordination with another office outside the universities. And also the function is executed, for example, SDG Center, for example. Next, infrastructure environment. You need to have infrastructure and environment that support the program. When you are becoming sustainability leadership in a campus, infrastructure environment in line, I mean, there has to be the same line with what we are going to do with programs, reducing financial and environmental impact. Next. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about sustainability office. All of the university has sustainability office, or in case of Diponegoro University, we have SDG Center. In case of Diponegoro University, we have SDG Center. When we are talking about the position in the organization structure, for example, it can be separate office or sustainability office. And there is also clear program and targets. It's very easy to monitor of the program, for example. Easier to link to other program if there is sustainability office. Next. Education, study programs, for example, we can introduce to study program what kind of courses that you can develop in the study program related to sustainability. Similarly, with university program, activity of students, academic and administrative staff, we have research and community services team. They have to have a direction to sustainability, SDGs, for example. And then we also have to provide research which related to SDGs. And then availability of funding. And then also publication about sustainability. Seminar, webinars on sustainability, on SDGs, for example. Next. Very important as well about infrastructure. When you have sustainability office, they can suggest to the management that when they build building, for example, it has to be green and smart buildings. They have energy efficiency, water waste treatment, water efficiency, and also very importantly, livable facilities. Next. Human resources. You need expert availability of experts who can support you, who also understand about sustainable development goals, for example, and their participation, and also the interaction and programs and activities. Next. Environment, green and open spaces. But we have
within your university, whether the availability of university sustainability office, or somehow that some setting and infrastructures that available in your university, that it could be a good systems for the university to create sustainability leaders. So we will ask the audience if they have any questions related to, oh wow, I think you're pretty popular, Prof. Ambar. There's a lot of questions here, so I will take one from this side. First, the lady with the glasses, and another young sustainability leaders, I think, this row, yeah, with the glasses as well. And then someone in the back who say hi to me. Yes, please, you can start to raise your questions for the first session.
So, okay, thank you for the opportunities. My name is Vanisha again, and I'm from Diponegoro University. In my university itself, there's green building implementation, such as impactful programs such as training, educational materials, activities, and also there's innovative programs such as automatic water station, electric, recycle, Zeta Green manufacturers, and also digital food technologies installed that calls Rob Calendar. So what I would like to ask is, what are the indicators that we could use to say that our university is green enough? Thank you.
We're very sorry that because we are in a like really long distance in here. Can you once again repeat the questions only, and your name and where you come from, please?
Oh, okay. My name is Fanny Siagian, and I'm from Diponegoro University.
Oh, from the Undip, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Questions?
I would like to ask that what is the indicators that we could use to say that our university is green enough? Like in Undip itself, there's called green building implementation, such as training, educational materials, activities, and also there's innovative programs such as automatic water station, electric vehicle, paperless office management, zero green manufacturers, and also there's digital food technologies that called Rob Calendar.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you mentioning like how we can state that the university is a green campus, yeah, with all those programs that we already created. So it's already ideal enough, or we need to, expand the facilities to be like, in more advanced way, like that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we will hold the first questions. The second questions, please. Yeah.
Tes. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Bestani Sudata and I am from Gajah Mada University. I want to ask about the paradigm of education. There is a gap between paradigm of education between urban and suburban area, especially in Yogyakarta. And they think the higher education are costly, cost a lot of money. Many of them, especially their parents, don't know that many opportunities like scholarship, but not much of this information reach to the community, especially in village. So my questions is, how do you mobilize or organize student organization to be able to reduce that gap of education, paradigm education? Because there are many people that afraid of higher education because this is costly or a lot of cost to reach. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you from UGM, yeah, Gajah Mada University, asking related to education's paradigm. Yeah, so because in urban and suburban area, so many people doesn't have a good access of the scholarship informations or education's informations for the higher educations, so that they have afraid. They have the things that, oh yeah, I can't go that way because it's very expensive, yeah, sort of way, yeah. So is there any movement or any programs that, created by the university to reduce those problems? That's correct, right? Okay, so that's the second question. The third questions, please. I think, yeah, someone in the back. Yeah, I think this is our students as well, yeah?
Udah? Good morning, afternoon. Udah jam 12 lebih. Nah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Hello everybody, my name is Lalaina. I'm from Madagascar and I'm studying at Undip. Thank you very much, Bapak Professor, for your intervention. So, first of all, I would like to thank Undip for the initiative that Undip has taken thus far related to sustainable development, and the fact that Undip is making a lot of effort to help students to run together towards that goal. For example, keadaannya bis kampus itu kan bagus banget. Nah, and I also hope that in the future, more actions will be taken for us to to go towards that goal like more actively. Now, I'm also thankful for the fact that there is an office that is in charge of sustainable development and environmental matters. My question is, Bapak Professor, is it possible to reach you and to work together for some publications related to the ocean and the blue economy? Because I think that that is related to SDG 14, the life under the ocean, because actually that is my, itu bidang saya di dalam penelitian. So as I read your background, I guess that marine activities and marine science and everything related to the sea is indeed your domain. So that was my question. Is it possible to work with you and to work with your office, like on some publications or some articles related to blue economy and marine governance? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Zarina from Madagascar.
Laina.
Zara?
Lalaina.
Oh, Lala. Oh my God.
Or Laina.
I haven't had my lunch, so that's why my hearing is not really good. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So you actually highlighting that Universitas Diponegoro having some coastal regions educations, and then would you like to do some deep interview for those?
Cooperation or?
Collaboration?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, collaborations, yeah, of course. After this, Professor Ambarianto will give you some highlights about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Prof, yeah. First question is related to the green campus facilities.
Okay. What happened at Universitas Diponegoro, for example, when you are asking about the green campus facilities? Is that your question?
Like ideal type of green campus, what kind of facilities?
Okay. To achieve green campus, it's a continuous improvement. There is no stopping barrier that you are already achieved green campus, but also, it's always continuous improvement. For example, green building, for example, there is a standard for that. Universitas Diponegoro now, whenever we are build a building for something, we consider about green requirements to become green building, for example. Yeah. We also try to reduce CO2 emission by having campus bus, for example. We also we have many different programs. For example, joining your is trying to. We are also collaborate with this city government. So there is a bus from city government enter the campus. That's to reduce students and also staff to bring motorbike or cars to campus. Yeah. So again, the highlight is to achieve green campus is a continuous improvement. Okay, and the second question, what kind of student activities or program that you can do to
reduce the problems of the gap of the lack of information that giving to the suburban area.
Okay, he was asking also about the cost of study at the university in Indonesia. Many students doesn't know whether if there are many scholarship as well. Your question, right? This at the moment, high school graduates if they don't know about scholarship, it's a pity that they don't know. They should know, because there are so many scholarship available. Even when, in the case of University Diponegoro, when they try to apply to become student at Diponegoro University, we also put in the web bidik scholarship, for example. They can choose whether they are going to pay by themselves or they are expecting scholarship from the government. That's the first one. The second one, we can use students' activities, I don't know what it's called, KKN.
Student community service. Student
community services, yeah. We are planning to have student community services to the community around the campus. And as you know that we are sending them to another cities, another kabupaten, regencies, for example, they can inform the community over there that there are many different kind of scholarship. I think in Gadjah Mada also available many scholarship for students, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
And the third question,
collaboration.
Collaboration with us, it's very welcome. So all of you from overseas or from Indonesia, if you are interested to collaborate with Diponegoro University, it's very welcome, because it's under my authority as well. So, you can send a letter to me or to the rector, and then we can process the collaboration. I think that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Ambarianto. Big applause for Prof. Ambarianto, yeah. So once again, we invite, Universitas Diponegoro is very open for the partnerships, because we believe partnership will, brings more impact to whatever we did. So that's why Prof. Ambarianto, as the Vice Rector for Research, Innovations, and also Collaborations, opened doors for many collaborations opportunity that will come from all of you students and also invitations guests that coming here today. Okay.
Before you close,
yeah.
Bu Desi.
Yeah.
Actually, I was hospitalized yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to be in the hospital right now. But because I want to meet you all participants, I come here. Yes. So, very welcome all of you participants from overseas and from Indonesia to Semarang to hopefully you can visit our campus. Is there any program to visit?
There might be, because the time frame is really tight, Prof. Yeah, we can arrange.
Okay, again, thank you very much for coming, and I'm very happy to see you.
Yeah, we all delighted to have all of you in here today. So, because the sessions has already been up, I think, pardon? No, I think Prof. Ambar has need to go to some other occasions. So yeah, we close this parallel sessions today, and thank you for having a really active participations. And yeah, we will wait till the MC close this event to have some lunch, I think. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Professor Dr. Insinyur Ambarianto, MSc, the Vice Rector for Research, Innovation, and Collaboration. And thank you, Bu Desi, who is very hungry, I think. All of us. Okay. We will have a break. Don't worry for those of you who feel hungry right now. We will have a break for about an hour. And before that, let me inform you that after the break, we will have, for the following agenda, is forum group discussion that will take place also here in this meeting room. And each participants will be divided into some groups or 6 subtopic of discussion. So make sure that you will be joined those 6 subtopics. Okay, now we will give you time to take a break and enjoy the lunch that have been served. And make sure to return to the meeting room at 1 p.m. Thank you. Guys, sorry, before having lunch, can we ask you to have another photo session with the Vice Rector for being able to join us today? Because he's supposed to be rest right now, but please come forward for another photo session. So please be patient for all the hungers that we feel right now. Mohon bantuan teman-teman humas untuk bisa mengambil gambar. Teman-teman humas untuk bisa mengambil gambar dari seluruh peserta bersama dengan Bapak Wakil Rektor Riset, Inovasi, dan Kerjasama. Okay, be ready for another photo session that we have. Make sure. Okay, what pose now that we want? 1, 2, 3. No, that's not allowed. Or maybe all of us are great. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Now you can enjoy the lunch. We will not gonna ask you to have another photo session.
Ku jatuh hati padamu sepenuh hati, hidup pun akan ku beri, apapun